All right, so it's November the 7th, 4 minutes before November the 8th. And here in Wayne County, it was election day. And first of all, I want to say congratulations to all of the candidates who stepped forward and tried to run for city councilman or woman, as well as the mayoral candidacy. Congratulations to those who won. I think Brandy Matthews, Hiawatha the Win, Roderick White, Beverly Weeks, Jamie Taylor, and Chris Boyette. All six of those won, but also I do want to extend congratulations as well to Yvonne Moore, Alicia, not Alicia, I don't know, Phyllis James Merritt, and Mael Thompson, Cal Butt, Stephen Taylor, and Sadie Simmons. I think those were the ones who were not elected. And definitely want to give a shout out to my man Raymond Smith as well. He and Charles Gaylor are embroiled, I think, in a runoff. I think neither one of those uh, individuals received over 50% of the votes. So I think, according to what I've been told, that there's going to be a runoff maybe next month for the candidacy of mayor. So that should be very interesting. But I definitely want to congratulate both of those guys for running a very respectable campaign, I would have to say, between those two. Nevertheless, I get into that. But the question is, why don't we vote? Or why don't the majority of people vote? And why I say that is because I was actually at one of the campaign sites and I was watching the tally as the numbers and the precincts came in, and just off the mayoral vote, right? I think they were both of those gentlemen had about 2,000 votes respectfully, somewhere in there, right? So I'm just gonna just say 4,000. So out of a voting population of maybe 20, 25,000, somewhere in there, don't quote me on the numbers, only 4,000 of the eligible voters voted. Now, why is that? Only about 20%, less than 20% of the people who are eligible to vote voted. Now, I'm going to tell you from my perspective why people don't vote. But then I'm going to tell you why people do vote. I actually voted for the first time in 2019. And that was, my foray into the political process, being around and seeing how things go. But I never bothered to vote because, being from the streets, I can see the play, right? I can see the con, as they say. And this doesn't apply to all individuals. I know there's some political figures who are very, very adamant about serving their community. But what I mean by that, especially on the national level, is these political candidates, they come around only in election time, and they make these promises, or they put up these facades like they are for the people, and then they get you all emotionally riled up and sensationalized, and um, then you don't hear from them again when they get into office. Now let's just be honest. Now, once again, I'm not saying this applies to all politicians, especially not the local politicians, because I know several of those who are very active in the community and helping people out. So don't take this as a blanket statement. I'm just telling you how people, not necessarily have to be from the streets, think. People really realize that most politicians don't have the direct power to affect their lives on a daily basis. Now, case in point, I remember 2008 when Obama was running. Everybody was all up in arms and happy. He won, he won. I knew right then that my life wasn't going to change, not one iota. And if you look back over those 8 years, your life didn't change not one bit unless you changed it. 2008. I was in my room with a bag full of cocaine, some alcohol, just listening to the race and getting all the phone calls. Right. 2008 to 2012, I tried to change my life. Obama was still president. He never came and offered me any rehab help. He never came and helped me with the college tuition, and so on and so forth. 2012, 2016, same thing. I was battling my own struggles. He never came to my court case when I was falsely accused. He never bailed me out of jail when I got a probation violation for dirty urines. None of those things, right? 2016 came and Trump was elected. Everybody was mad. Everybody was, oh, we can't have Trump. Once again, my life changed not one iota until I changed it. And actually, under Trump, my life got better because that was the time when I decided to go to rehab and get my life together at the end of 2019, right at the end of Trump's presidency. So once again, Trump had no effect. He didn't call me and beg me to go to rehab. He didn't call me and pay for my way. He didn't take care of my daughter when when I need or when I went to rehab. No, I had to do all those. I had to figure out all those things. 2020 when Biden got elected. Once again, he had no effect on my life. I sat in my apartment and wrote 2 books and figured out a plan on how I would never work for anybody else in my life. And I took my life and my destiny in my own hands. While everybody's saying we got to keep Trump out, I didn't put my energy towards that. And most people don't put their energy towards those things because if you're a mother with 5 children and you're barely you're struggling, it's not too much that a politician is going to help you with. If you're a 4-time felon or whatever, or whatever your situation is, you're going to have to figure that situation out by yourself. Now that's one kind of reason that people don't vote, as well as the lack of faith in the political system. And once again, I would say most people see the con. Case in point, Bill Clinton, and I'm talking as far as the black race now, and this may apply to some others, but Bill Clinton, they said Bill Clinton smoked weed and he played the saxophone on the Arsenio Hall show. Now everybody's calling him the first black president, just because he appealed to the 2 of the lowest common denominators, 2 of the lowest vibration of smoking weed and playing a saxophone. Okay, well that's all that black people do: smoke weed and play saxophone, right? And everybody voted for him, but some of his policies still affect the black race to this day. Moving on, forward, to Hillary Clinton. I remember she was running and she pulled out some hot sauce out of her bag on the Breakfast Club. Now, okay, everybody, oh, she likes hot sauce, and everybody knows the stereotype with black people and hot sauce, right? You know what I'm saying? So once again, they're playing to, the lowest vibration, or it's almost insulting to me. I don't know if it is insulting to anyone else, but it's almost insulting to me when these politicians come around and they kind of big up the blackness just for the black vote. And even take it to our girl Ski Wee or whatever our girl Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris. She even came to Goldsboro. I remember she came to Goldsboro. I ain't seen her since. We ain't seen her. She ain't been black since the election. Let's be honest, right? It was black girl swag, black girl magic, chucks and pearls and everything. And she had once again all of the black race, mostly the black women, a lot of the black women riled up in her favor. Now, not saying that she's not a good choice or a good politician, but once again, after that chucks and pearls and all of that Breakfast Club stuff, you haven't seen her. And she said out of her own mouth, I'm not going to do anything just for black people, but everybody else gets something done just for them. But that's a whole nother subject. I don't want to go that deep into it. But she played to this. Oh yeah, I went to a HBCU, and I was listening to Tupac in in my dorm room in 1983. And anybody knows anything about rap, Tupac wasn't even rapping in 1983. So once again, that belittled her credibility to most people who can see the con. Now, most people who didn't listen to Tupac probably bought it lock, stock, and barrel. But what I'm trying to say is, a lot of people can see past the okay, yeah, here you go. I'm for the get your booty to the polls or vote or die or whatever. Because I didn't vote for a long time and I didn't die yet. Now the policies that have been enacted, once again they trickle down, but once again I haven't been affected adversely by any policy that I didn't have control over myself. And so that's why we only see about 4,000 people in a town of 25,000 people voting. Because, most people know that it is just, a lot of times political posturing, once again, I shout out to both of those mayoral candidates. I think they do have, good intentions. But, from what I hear, this city is so far under rubbish and disarray that not just one person is going to fix this situation. And to the people a lot of times that always say, well, vote. And once again, this is for, my black brothers and sisters. Vote. Vote. Our ancestors died for the right to vote. You should vote. Our ancestors did not die for the right to vote. Let's get that clear. Our ancestors died, first of all, because they were racist white people that didn't like black people, and they were hanging them from trees and killing them just because they were evil. It wasn't because they were trying to vote. Before, back in the slavery days, they wasn't voting then. They were still getting killed, raped, and murdered. So let's not, belittle our ancestors' plight to just, they were trying to vote, that's why they got killed. The reason, once again, at so many of our ancestors were trying to register to vote, they weren't trying to vote just because they thought that their vote was going to change something, because it would have been asinine for them to think, okay, I got two white candidates, both of them don't like me, but I'm going to vote for them and think they're going to do right by me. That's asinine. What they were doing was trying to register to vote, because at that time, during those times, there were things called the black laws, the black codes, the Jim Crow laws, and a lot of things where if you were not registered to vote, you couldn't do things like get a job. If you were not registered to vote, you couldn't do things like own property. If you were not registered to vote, you couldn't do things like join a union. In some cases, if you were not registered to vote, you could not get married. If you were not registered to vote, you couldn't do tangible, everyday things that we could do now. If you were not registered to vote, you couldn't open a bank account. So that is the reason that they were so focused on registering to vote and getting that right to vote, because then they would be able to own land, own property, start businesses, build their communities up, join unions to get jobs and feed their families. They weren't fighting and getting killed and lynched and risking their lives just to pull a switch and vote for another white racist person. Come on, are we that I ain't gonna say the word, but we have to really study history and get off that narrative that they were just out there dying for the right to vote, because vote actually comes from the Latin word voltere, which means wish. And that's what a lot of people do when they vote. especially on the national level. Now, I'm fortunate enough to know local candidates, so I know once again that they have an ear for the people, most of them. But we vote and we wish that they gonna do what they said they were gonna do, and we have no um, ability to hold them to the fire. Now, what we can do, you know, as a lot of people do, is they vote in blocks, or they say, if you do not, if we give you your vote, you got to do this for us. But most of the times in once again the black community, we vote and don't ask for nothing. We vote and then ask, hey, could you do something? But I've said this time and time again that the political candidate is not beholden to those who vote for him or her. They're beholden to the ones who finance their campaign, as we all saw with Obama, with the big banks and the LGBT movement and the immigrants. Those are the people who finance his campaign, so those are the people he catered to. But nevertheless, there's a lot of different reasons why people don't vote. And I just gave you, like, a few from my perspective. Now you can chime in and add some of those reasons yourself. But I'm going to go to a book that a young man wrote. It's called The War of Life. This young man is Shanquez Robinson. I had the pleasure of publishing this book for my brother, who's actually incarcerated. But he did some research on voting, and he's encouraging people to vote in his book. But he goes on to mention there are four types of behavior that you would normally expect from voters. The first one is party line voting, which a lot of people do. This is when your family member has always been a member of a political party, and you vote that same way due to family tradition. And we can take this one step further, especially when we talk about the black race. We vote Democrat no matter what, no matter how bad their policies is, no matter how much benign neglect that they show you. Now, you can actually look up the term benign neglect. That was a term that the Democrats created, saying, okay, we're gonna, we're going to say we're going to do something for these black people, but we're never going to do it. That is called benign neglect. Now, most people as well don't know that the Democrats were some of the most racist candidates in the Jim Crow in the 60s and the civil rights days. A lot of people, black people started off as Republican, you know, but once again things change. But also, once again, as Malcolm X said, the Democrats and the Republicans are the same. The Republicans bite you with a growl, and the Democrats will bite you with a smile. So he very, and a lot of the things that he says still resonates today. But if you look at the second part, where people, or the second type of voting, is rational voting, which most people don't do. Because if you look at some of the policies of Biden and Trump and things like that, a lot of the Trump was an idiot. He said a lot of terrible things, but a lot of his policies were beneficial. But people don't look at that. But rational voting is when someone chooses a candidate that will benefit them the most, whichever one would be rational for their own welfare. Now, that's not what people do. People just vote Democrat, vote blue because the Republicans are going to take the House and they're going to do this. A bunch of, once again, emotional sensationalism. I remember my man, Mr. Lofton's son over there on Elm Street. He had the Trump sign up there, Trump Pence, and everybody was giving him, slack for it. But he knew and he researched, and he said, Trump was the best candidate for me and my business and whatever policies. He made a rational choice, just like a lot of people did. That's why Trump got elected. And then, of course, we have Biden in office now, and, God bless his soul. But, Biden is one bad day away from hospice care, that's just what it is. And a lot of Biden, if you listen to him talk, you don't. That's a whole nother story. God bless, God bless the president. They say we supposed to pray for the president, but a lot of people don't vote rationally. They vote emotionally. Like a lot of people, we got to get Trump out of office. He's why we got to get Trump out of office. I don't know because what is Biden going to do for? I don't know, but we got to get Trump out of office. And once again, my life has been the same with or without Trump because once again, God holds my destiny, but also, as one writer said, I am the master of my fate and the captain of my soul. No politician as well. But the third type of voting you may see is retrospective voting. This is when you vote for someone who seems like they are doing good or have done good in the past. And this is what we see a lot of times as well, or what I like to call name recognition. You see a name, oh yeah, I mean he's been the councilman for 10 years. So I gotta vote for him. I know this name. He did something in the past, so I'm going to base it on. I'm going to base my vote on what he's done in the past. Mind you, he may not even been doing anything good right now, but that's what's going on. And lastly, you have prospective voting. That means that when you base your vote on the candidate, on what you think that he is going to do for the future, and also for the entire country. You're basing your vote not on personal reasons, but on what the candidate can do for the entire country. That's prospective voting. So you have four reasons that most people vote. And you can't really knock anyone, for voting that way. I would consider myself a rational voter, but once again, I always say, and they always say, well, the lesser of two evils, we have to vote for one of them. No, I think I'll sit this one out, and I always use the analogy, if you have a child molester who have molested 5 kids, and then you have another child molester who have molested 10 kids. Which one would you choose? Would you choose the one that's molested 5 kids and those are the only two babysitters in the area? Or would you stay home and take care of your own kids? Me, myself, I'll take care of my own. And that's what a lot of people, do. They don't concern themselves with the political process, or a lot of them do. Like you said, I never see, any, not many other race like the Chinese or the Indians, the Arabs. I'm sure they vote, but they're not running around talking about bring your turbans to the poll or whatever. Like they always cater to the black people. I never see any stereotypical ads or advertisement or propaganda aimed towards those groups, because those groups may go vote, but they also go out and handle things in their own community. You always hear little Mexico, little China, little Russia, whatever. All of those guys, they may vote, but most importantly, they take their destiny in their own hands. But also, they take their economic situation in their own hands. As I think the Rothschild said, if you give me the control of the economy, I could care less who's president. And that's what it boils down to. Long as your money right, you don't care who's president. It's the ones who are, at the bottom of the totem pole. And once again, even on the local level, the people don't care who's in office. They're going to get their plans pushed by the city manager. I was at a city council meeting the other night, and some developer wanted to build some houses fortunately or unfortunately for I guess for the developer and somebody who wanted it, the city shot that down. But with a little more money and a little more research and stuff, he that developer will be able to buy his way in, in some regard. So the bottom line is money, economics. That is the most powerful weapon that you have. Where politics have their place, I'm not one to put too much um, stock in the political arena. Now, once again, I don't discourage anyone from voting, and I don't encourage anyone to vote. Now, mind you, I like a lot of the candidates as people, as friends, but I'm not going to, and maybe I shouldn't, but I'm not going to endorse someone, even if I have the greatest faith in them, because what happens then if this person gets in office and I've endorsed them, and then they don't do right by the people, or even if they're doing right but something they does offend the people, then I will be liable, for the people that I've influenced to vote for that person. So I try to stay neutral, um, in the political arena, because once, like I said, I don't care. I really don't care. Um, I know once again that Richard Taylor's life is going to be governed first of all by God, but then secondly by Richard Taylor and his actions. And I think um, everyone should live their life that way. However, once again at the polls, and I'm gonna let y'all go after this, but the things that I've seen at the polls were just so horrendous. Some people ran a very respectful campaign, but then others at the polls, telling people don't vote for this person because of that, don't vote for that person because of that. They're literally, and I've seen this, and I get it. You gotta win, you gotta by any means necessary, but people are getting out of their cars, and you got about 5 or 6 people running up to them, handing them literature, asking which district they in. Okay, you're in this district, vote for this person. No, no, vote for this person. And people are getting out of their cars. Hopefully, they were already had their mind up, but some people were probably. So it reminded me back on the days on the block. If you ever been on the block, any block in America, but definitely on James Street, you might see a car come through, and you realize, they drive up and they give you that look, that head nod, and it's about 5 or 6 guys out there and no other customers. People running to the cars, elbowing each other. Yo, I got this, and that's exactly how it reminded me of. Like it reminded me of days back, in the mid '90s. When I just jumped off the porch of people on the block trying to get that sale, trying to get every little sale. And I get it, but some of the actions and some of the things I heard about were just downright treacherous, man. And and that's why once again I don't really try to get involved in the political process, because I know competition breeds that type of behavior. Competition is of the kingdom of darkness, I was reading the other day, and service is of the kingdom of light. So that's where we have to make the distinction. Once again, congratulations to all of those who ran a respectful race and respected their opponent, and did not slander them either behind their back or to their face. And I congratulations to all of those who won. And right now, if I'm not mistaken, there is going to be a runoff. So congratulations to Raymond Smith and Charles Gaylor, and may the best man or best candidate win that race. But I hope this has been informative. But I really, want people to understand that even, whichever one wins, if only 4,000 people voted, that shows a lot about, people and their belief in the political process, but also in their knowledge of, listen, this is all a game, this is all a political game. Like, do you really care for me? Am I going to see you out after this election? In which, once again, I'll reiterate that there are a lot of people especially local politicians who are very active in the community. But even then, a lot of people still don't think that their needs will be met or their voices will be heard in that political arena. But I definitely thank you for tuning in, and I hope those people who last night I talked to several candidates after they were like, I'm glad this is over, and that should tell you something, about the treachery of running a political campaign. I'm so glad this is over, and you see people just breathing deep, but nevertheless, much success, and I know it's only getting started because next year we got the presidential race, and I can just imagine all of the shenanigans that we are fin to experience. But God bless y'all. Y'all have a good day, night, peace and blessings.